With me here today, and congratulations, Scott Berdahl. Scott won the 2023 Young Mining Professional of the Year, the Peter Munk Award, named after the founder of Barrick Gold, the legend Peter Munk. Not just for his success in mining, but diversification, success across different industries, and also giving back to communities, charities, etc. But Scott right here is the winner, and Scott works for Snowline Gold. Snowline's made a heck of a discovery in the Yukon. They went public in 2019. Stock was at 11 cents. Now it's trading at 563, $850 million market cap. So congratulations, Scott. We had a lot of different really well-deserving nominees, and you end up winning. So congratulations on the award.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, no, it's a real honor.
So Peter Munk, what does it feel like to be having an award kind of named after Peter Munk that you won? How does that feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I guess it brings out a lot of imposter syndrome and, obviously big shoes to fill there, but it also just makes me really proud of what our team has done. I don't think somebody like me wins Peter Munk Award without a lot of really solid people doing their part and doing more than their part, really. And, I'm lucky to be in the driver's seat at Snowline, so to speak, anyway. But there are really so many people driving the company and so many people pushing it forward who are doing a fantastic job. And so yeah, I feel lucky to be a part of such a team.
So just let people know. So you win this award because of your successes in mining, but also it's who you are as a person. And I've never met Scott till now, and a lot of things I heard over and over is how good of a guy Scott is. Good Yukon boy, good family, etc. And I was reading through your resume, Scott. You went to MIT, and one of your degrees you took was geology. I didn't even know they had geology there. Another degree in Saudi Arabia at KAUST University, and then he did his MBA at INEAD. And sorry, I'm going to sound bad here.
INSEAD.
INSEAD. Cut. We're going to redo that. No, it's all good. So he did that. So Scott, you did all these degrees. Just kind of walk us through your career and kind of where you got to where you are right now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my career started fairly early, and I was fortunate or misfortunate, depending on your stance, to be dragged out on prospecting trips from a very early age, like single digits. My dad's a prospector, and so he would take me out into the bush, and so that was very formative for me. Working then, as a 10-year-old and 12-year-old on even some of the same projects that Snowline has now. And so, that obviously got me started. And and going to school, I started out in my undergrad for aerospace engineering. I did a couple of years of that and realized just how incredible this upbringing I had was, going out into just remote places, generally in the Yukon wilderness, but even prospecting in other places. How incredible that was and how rare that was, and ultimately I had the idea to just pursue it further and push ahead with it, and it just felt right. And so I switched into geology. I did the math, after the first week of year 3 of aerospace, and realized that if I really crunched my schedule together, I could still graduate on time. I'd already taken some geology electives and that sort of a thing. And yeah, MIT has a fantastic geology program. It's not well known in the industry because they are focused more on planetary history and Earth history and these sorts of things, and they've kind of strayed from the Lindgren days of economic geology, but nonetheless, really solid foundation in a lot of the branches, basically what you need to know. And then unfortunately, I had to crack the books on a lot of deposit models and so on after graduating. And then from there, it was just boots onto the ground. I graduated in 2008, and the following year. So actually, I also did a writing degree there. So I guess I really kind of got my feet on the ground in that 2010 era when things were just going haywire globally, and especially in the Yukon for gold. And so yeah, just hit the ground running in terms of prospecting work, and came back and helped out my father. And then yeah, but with every boom comes a crash, and or at least in this industry, that seems to be the case. And so yeah, in 2014, I found myself spinning my wheels, and went back for a master's degree, and ultimately I'd learned in the few years of prospecting and project generating full time that it's just as much business as it is science. And so you find something exciting, and then it's all about sales, negotiation, and presentation, and everything else. And so yeah, it was just realizing that I was spinning my tires, realizing that nobody was going to buy something good even if you found it. It made sense to go back to school and not only study geology further, but to go and study business. So that's what took me to INSEAD, and yeah, it was a great place to study.
So how'd you find the project for Snowline, and bring us to that point?
Yeah, so that came out of well, that was 2008. So I mentioned, graduating from the geology program then, and I went and took a first job with an exploration company in the Yukon. And that was great, but I realized it was my second summer working with them, but sort of 3/4 of the way through the summer, I realized how much I like just prospecting and having that entrepreneurial part of things. And so it was a great experience, but I took the last few weeks of that summer, went out, and it just so happened that my dad was planning a trip out to an area that we now refer to as the Rogue Plutonic Complex, this cluster of intrusions out there where Snowline is currently working. And so yeah, a few days after kind of deciding to give up the more secure job and go more entrepreneurial, we were actually on what's now our Gracie target, about 4 kilometers away from the Valley Discovery. And we were exploring there. We found some really interesting rock samples at Gracie, some interesting regional stream geochemistry around there. And then we went out, and again, to my father's credit, he had the idea to look for Carlin style mineralization in those Selwyn Basin rocks farthest to the north. And so we started looking around there too. And we didn't get a ton of traction on that idea, but a couple of years later, a company called Attack Resources made a significant discovery of that kind, and it's basically the deposit model that made Nevada what it is in terms of a gold producer, significant on a global scale. That deposit type had been sought after all over the world since then, and hadn't really been found. But when Attack found that, then we were ready to go on the targets we'd already been looking at, and yeah, it was during that boom, and so we were able to stake big projects covering conceptual sort of district area ideas, and option them out, and companies were able to do a lot of work. And so we had several big projects, really more than 1% of the surface area of the Yukon Territory. So I forget the exact number now, but like 4,000 or 5,000 square kilometers staked and optioned out as different conceptual targets on a large scale. And one of those was that Rogue Plutonic Complex. When they came back to us in 2013 and 2014, it wasn't because of bad results. It was because just the floor was taken out into the junior industry, and these projects just started coming back from companies that couldn't maintain them. And so it was a long doldrum myself of, well, going back to school, but really trying to sell these in any manner possible, even trying to give them away. And so I'd like to say that I had this great vision, and I just wanted to build this company from the ground up, but really it was kind of like a last ditch effort of we can't give these things away, and so maybe we can just raise some money and try to drill them. And so very happy that that circumstances led me in that direction.
So you guys' business model, your families as prospectors, and to find properties and sell them to option them off to other companies. And this one, because the market wasn't great, you decided to keep it and drill it, and what happened happened. Is that more or less what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were essentially private prospect generator at that like very small scale, but yeah, if no one's buying your projects, then you can only maintain that model for so long. And so with the tailwinds in 2020 to the gold price, there was suddenly a bit of interest again, and we saw it as an opportunity to get things out the door. And yeah, we were fortunate to have a great a whole bunch of offers came in, and one scenario from Keith Newmeyer, First Majestic Silver. He had a shell and ready to go, and financing ready to go, and so it was really quite turnkey in a lot of senses. And And I'd been talking to Snowline's current chair, Craig Hart, at the same time about, what we could do in the junior space, and what what opportunities were there to kind of build a company that tries to go about things in a new way. And so, yeah, all the pieces just kind of fell into place, and not that it didn't take a lot of work and everything else, but it was still extremely fortunate.
So I think the big issue is, you got into business. It sounds like through your family, but the big issue I think is people. I think high tide raises all ships, and the key to success in the mining industry moving forward is having really good people. Um, you know, for people that didn't grow up in the mining industry, what would you tell them to be something that you like most about the industry to encourage them to join?
I mean, one thing, there are a lot of things I really like about the industry. One is just even from just a personal standpoint, it's extremely interesting. I mean, you get to go to places all over the world. I mean, I know I explore just right in my own backyard here, but even then, I go to places that nobody in the Yukon goes to, and similarly, that was one of the big draws of jumping over from engineering to geology was. You if you have any kind of a travel bug, you can scratch that itch very thoroughly and work all over the world. And again, not going to just to see the Sydney Opera House or the Eiffel Tower, that kind of thing. You're going to places that no tourist really has any business or reason to go to, and often you find the most interesting things there, geologically and otherwise. So I really like that, and it's also just a very supportive industry, a lot of very good people, and a lot of room for growth. I see it as it's a small industry, which has its pros and cons, but I think that one of the big pros is just that you have so much connection to some amazing people doing amazing things, and it's relatively easy to get to know people, to get good advice, and to find good mentors, and that kind of a thing. So yeah, no, I think it's a great industry to be in. There's so much opportunity, and it's just an exciting place to be.
Where's that place that you went to? Where's the best place you ever went to in the industry, whether traveling for investor relations or traveling for work? What's the coolest place you went to?
Well, I mean, I do love the Yukon, but yeah, did some prospecting. Well, with my dad actually in Ethiopia. That was quite a trip, and again, way off the beaten path, and just a great adventure there. Looking at opportunities, and yeah, obviously Snowline's not in Ethiopia at the moment, but nonetheless, and even doing that master's degree in Saudi Arabia, that was a fantastic experience where and being in geology specifically, like the school that I was at, KAUST, was it has a lot of really good programs in computer science and marine biology and other things that are right on the banks of the Red Sea. But as a geologist, well, actually, I shouldn't have brought up marine biology because they had a way cooler field program. But still, as a geologist there, not only being in a country that at that point was relatively closed off to the outside world, but being able to go with a lot of really bright researchers and go out into the desert, into the mountains, various places along the Red Sea, and to do really cool field work. I mean, that was a wonderful experience, and just an incredible opportunity that came about just uh, being in the industry and keeping an open mind.
One question I get from students a lot, not even students, it's just talking to someone that's been in the industry for a year. Um, Field work versus working at corporate at a school. Which would you recommend?
Um, Sorry, field work versus.
Working at site, working at a mine or geology, or instead being a geologist and working at a bank and analyzing companies, etc. Which one would you recommend?
I mean, it depends on the person. I would strongly recommend field work. But there are things to be learned in each of them. But I think that if you're going to go out into the field, it's good to do it while you're young, while you can travel, while you can dedicate a lot of time. And not that the more corporate side of it wouldn't take a lot of time as well, but it's time that can be done sort of closer to home. And I think that ultimately, it's easier to shift that direction later in life, and you'll be stronger for it. Just having to have that field experience, at least when you're focused in the industry. If you don't know that you want to be in the industry, then if you go to the corporate side, you can have transferable skills that you could probably take into a whole number of different industries just by your familiarity with corporate policy and guidance and financial statements, etc. That'll open a lot of doors for you as well.
So really quickly, what's your number one key to success? One key to success that you want to tell the crowd?
That's a great question. I guess it's understanding what it is. And yeah, I think that, in my case, if there's extreme good fortune and like I say, having a very strong team. But I think in terms of, figuring out what success looks like for you and pushing for that. And, I think that just finding something uh, that brings you contentment, and pushing for it. And, I think that you can interpret that just to mean hedonism, and that's not at all what I mean, because that wouldn't necessarily bring you contentment. You need to look at sort of type two fun applied to life, and really, figure out what you want to do and push for it.
Now, last question. The end goal, I think, is to eventually, whether you like it or not, is to sell the company. Now, if and when that happens, you'll have a big windfall. Are you going to stay in the industry, or are you going to go play golf or sit on a beach?
That's a great question. I think we'll just have to cross that bridge if and when we get there. It's right after when I finished my undergrad, I was very had been very stressed out just getting my thesis across the line, all these classes and everything like that. And I just couldn't wait to go back to a simple life in the Yukon, living in a cabin in the woods. And I did that for like 2 weeks, and I was sublimely happy for about a week and a half. And then kind of just, then you're just twiddling your thumbs, and your mind's racing and you're thinking of the next thing. So it's easy to, daydream about sitting on a beach somewhere, but I can't really picture myself doing that for an extended period of time.
So, the audience listening, the real answer is going to take 2 weeks off and get right back in. Just when I thought I was out, it brought me right back in. That's the
Let's
mining
see.
industry for you. You travel the world, you see the world, you work with amazing people. And look, you're the most amazing person under the age of 40 that we saw from the hundreds of applications. You treat your shareholders really well. You treat people really well. Nothing but great things I hear about Scott. So you're very deserving to win the Peter Munk Award. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Tony, and that's really kind of you to say. Obviously, the exploration luck played a big factor in my being here, and I think that spotlight should be shone on people like yourself. That the fact that you're doing this work with YMP in addition to your day job, and leading it and building a company, what you've done in increasing the scholarship capacity with YMP, that kind of thing, like. Again, yeah, there's so many people who are really deserving of this kind of an honor. I got lucky with some good exploration results, but I really do appreciate the recognition. So thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Scott. I appreciate the kind words, but the spotlight's on you. And look, we're hoping to have an event in September with Mark and Scott and Ella and Eira, but be determined. But again, Scott Berdahl, winner of the 2023 Peter Munk YMP Miner of the Year. Thank you very much.